Well, greetings, Cap fans, or should I say Cap Art fans, and welcome to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I am your host, Rick Verbanis. It's episode 262, and we've got a special guest today, which we will get to in a little bit. But before we do that, oh, Bob, in comics, at its best, words and pictures are like partners in a dance, and each one takes turns leading.
Wow, that's a beautiful sentiment, Rick. I've never heard you be so eloquent.
But do you?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's all right. I didn't expect you to. That is a quote from Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. Have
Uh,
you ever read this book?
I have not read that book. Is
Yeah,
that
me either.
about the importance of sequential comic?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally is.
Is,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh, this
is that
was a big book with popular book with comic book fans.
yeah.
Um, in fact, I think Neil Gaiman says on the back, if you read, write, teach, or draw comics, if you want to, or if you simply want to watch a master explain at work, you must read this book.
Two questions.
Yeah.
One,
Don't ask me who Neil Gaiman is.
no, I was going to ask you why you have a book, and second question is, you haven't read that book?
No, I haven't
Why do you
read the
have
book
it?
because it was a gift.
Oh,
It was a gift.
okay.
It's kind of like, I remember I told you before, like as an Eagles fan, I have, decades and decades and decades of birthdays and Christmases and
Right.
Father's Day and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if it has
Okay.
an eagle on it, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
every once in a while, they like to
Yeah,
go get outside of the
right.
comfort zone and they're like,
Right.
it's about comics. Rick will read that.
Well, it looks like a great book. It looks very interesting, as a matter of fact. So,
It is. I hear good things about it.
yeah. And I noticed as you were flipping through it, it had a lot of pictures.
It does. I
So
mean, of all books, I should really be
that
reading
should
this
be
book.
right up your alley. Yeah.
It is a comic book, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it
It's
is
all
actually. It's
panels.
all pictures.
Yeah, yeah. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'll put
Oh,
that on the stack next to my next to my bed with
there
all
you
the other
go.
stuff.
Okay.
Bob, how you
Beautiful.
doing?
I'm doing all right, Rick. How was your day?
Oh, pretty good. Apparently, I've got some good luck coming my way.
Really? Four leaf
Yeah.
clover? Did you find a four leaf clover?
No, no,
No.
no. Much worse than that.
A leprechaun.
So I was for work today. I was in New York City, and you know how much I love going into the city.
Yeah.
And I'm taking the train because driving in is just crazy. And so
He
I'm
takes
at a
the morning train. Yeah, right. That's you.
that's me. That's me. So and I've talked at nauseum on this show about how much I hate doing all that, but I had a conference to go to in the morning, so I went in, and the conference was supposed to end at noon, and I had a 15-minute walk to the New York Penn Station to catch a 12:45 train. To get me back home. Now, at this time of the day, if you miss your train, like it's another hour or two, or something like that. So, but I had time. But the conference didn't end on time. It ended 25 minutes late.
All right.
So I'm hightailing it out there, and I'm jogging.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
wearing
All
dress
those fitness
clothes.
classes paying off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. Yesterday morning I ran a 5K, so that was
See?
nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm there, and it's middle of the day, and it's high 70s. I'm wearing work clothes. I'm jogging, so I'm a little sweaty. And I get to the intersection right before the New York Penn Station, and I'm
Yeah.
standing there on the corner next to the pole, where you hit the button to make,
Oh,
you can go
right.
across the street,
Yeah.
right? And I'm standing there with a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden, plop, right on the top of my head, a pigeon
Oh,
pooped.
that's good luck. Yeah.
Apparently,
Yeah.
that's the
Everyone knows that.
rumor.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh. So luckily, I'm next to a food truck, and I kind of butt in line, and I'm like, I just got pooped on my head.
Oh, I thought
Can
you were going to say like it made you hungry or something.
I? No, I'm like,
Okay.
can I get a
All
napkin?
right.
I wipe off my head. The light turns green. I go across the street. I make my train on time.
Oh, Wow. Wow. I can't think of all the amazing things. Like, oh, I missed the train. I got to stay in New York City. Like the things, go see a show. There's got to be like a million comic book stores,
Yeah,
you
go see a
know?
show. You know what's really high on my list of things to do?
If you got like
Music
300,
musicals.
if you got like 300 bucks, in your pocket, you can go see
Yeah.
a show,
So I don't like musicals
go
and
to
I don't like the
Sabaro,
city.
get yourself a slice of authentic pizza, all the things you can do in New York City.
Dude, I can't get out of there fast enough. I can't get out of there fast enough. But anyway,
So what I hear you saying is you've got this good luck sort of hanging around you.
yep.
You're just waiting for an opportunity to get into an original art bidding war with somebody
Mm.
because luck is on your side. Lady Luck is in your lap.
The only time luck comes into a bidding war with our guest today is if somehow his alarm doesn't go off and he misses the auction. There is no bidding war.
Well, or gets held up in traffic or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
only luck. So speaking of our guest today, we have a what we like to call a different segment is art captivated. And our guest is back from the last Art Captivated we did, which was 2 years ago, and that is Alberto Gonzalez. Alberto, welcome to the show.
Hey Rick, hey Bob, how are you?
Welcome.
Thanks.
Now, Alberto, if and for our listeners there who have not seen the last one, it was episode 156. So make sure you check that out. It was a great conversation between Alberto and I, and it was only one of two episodes that Bob didn't make. So now Bob actually gets a chance to meet my art nemesis.
So I feel like the first time I was just invited because you needed somebody else to host with and you didn't know what to do with yourself. At least today, I feel like I was legitimately invited by the two.
It's legitimate now. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you were like the Gary Shandling. I was like, oh no, I need a I need a last minute co-host. That's not true. We had a really good conversation, and we're not going to get into the stuff we talked about in that episode. So, if you want to learn more about Alberto and his background and how he got into comics, living in Spain, and how he got into Captain America, and then how he came over to United States and at college, and then started working here, and then got into art and philosophies on commissions versus published and all that. It was a great conversation. Check out episode 156. But today we're going to do a couple things. One, Alberto has a ton of new Captain America art from the last year or two that he is going to share some highlights with, and then number two, we have a laundry list of questions sent in from listeners and other comic book art fans for not only for Alberto but for me as well. And we'll kind of get into some really fun questions.
Yeah, it is an expertly curated list of questions, Rick. And I've been trying to work curated into the last 5 shows. So I'm so excited I finally got that in. But they are some really interesting questions that have been submitted by fellow art collectors as well as our very own patrons. And so I think it's going to be a wonderful conversation.
Bob, I forgot to talk about way back in episode 258, which is a month ago. It came out September 24th. We had our Captain America comic book fantasy draft, number 5, and it was you, me, Jason Olson, and James Foley who drafted 8 characters to go along with Steve Rogers, and then we pitched our stories, and then we put it out to the Facebook group on which of these stories would you like to read the most? And we got a lot of nice comments from people uh, complimenting all of them and saying, I wouldn't want to read all of them, but I'm going to pick so and so, or I'm going to pick this one. And here's why. And we always love to hear that kind of reasoning and so on. But Bob, I did notice you had originally voted for Jason's story, but it went away. Did you?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it was not intentional.
Okay.
I
You
think
still
I was clicking on to see who voted for who so that I could adjust my Christmas card list. And I think in the process of doing that, it might have deselected, but it was not my intention.
Okay, so we'll put you down then still for Jason.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then with that, Jason gets 7% of the votes.
All right.
So I would definitely and again, Jason, we all want to read your story. I guess sometimes people just vote for some of their favorite characters. That's what it came down to. Coming in second to last, Bob.
Hey, hey.
You got 14% of the votes.
All right.
And by the way, I was one of them. I
Well,
voted
thank
for
you
you,
very
Bob.
much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Bob. And then coming in second place in a heated, close battle with 38% of the votes. And I'm going to say that's more than you and Jason combined.
Right. Yeah.
Is James. James
Yep.
got 38% of the votes, not least of which was Tom Boyd, because I think it was Diamondback, right? But he said it was more than just Diamondback.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a very impressive showing for his first time out, Rick.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And then I got 43% of the votes.
Right.
And one of the votes that voted for me, Mike Perkins.
Mike Perkins.
Yeah.
The man himself.
That's right.
That's
Artist
awesome.
extraordinaire.
Yeah.
He voted for my story. I think what he really wants, he wants to draw my story.
Yeah, well, probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Let's see if
here's
you
the
can
interesting
talk him
part.
into it.
All right. You voted for Jason.
Yes.
Jason voted for me. I voted for you, and James voted for himself.
That's why I love to see who voted for,
Right?
I can't help myself. I know I should just let it go, but I love to see it. And, they were all great stories.
Yeah.
And I voted for Jason because I was like, I never think about like cosmic stories. It really was out of the
Right.
box for me.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I'm not that familiar with Quasar, but he really piqued my interest and caused me to want to learn more about that character, and because that set the context for the story,
And maybe buy his book about Quasar.
and maybe buy
Right?
his new book available now at all booksellers.
Yeah.
And so that for me, I mean, like if he's able to do that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give him my vote.
That's awfully nice. And you know who else voted for me? Alberto. Alberto, that was very kind of you. Why did you pick my story, and why is it so much better than Bob's?
I thought you were gonna give me credit the first time. Then you said Mike Perkins, and we're name dropping. So I was like, "Damn it, he's not even gonna acknowledge me in here." But I did vote for you.
It was mercy, wasn't it? It was a mercy vote.
Yeah, I was like, he invited me. I might as well just vote for him since I'm going to be on the show talking about this.
There you go.
A big part of it was the characters. Bernie was not necessarily my favorite of Cap's ladies. I would have chosen Sharon or Diamondback ahead of it, but the story was good. I love Ultron. I think you had Sam Wilson in there as well. And the story of Ultron coming and kind of trying to attack or kill Cap's allies and all that stuff just seemed pretty good. So yeah, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Now, so Bernie's not your favorite. So you know what that means? That means you need to sell me the first appearance of Bernie that you have from 1980 by John Byrne, because it really doesn't mean much to you.
No, except the ability to taunt you a little bit about it and tell you that I have it and you don't. That's about it. It's bragging rights.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than yeah, here's something I know you really want. It doesn't mean that much to me. Oh, do I have that? Oh, I don't know. Somewhere around here.
It's holding up this table.
I use it as a placemat for my dinner plate.
All right. Well, let's.
goodness.
I do have a couple questions for you before we get into your art, because the last time you were on here, how how things have changed, Alberto. You, at that point, had not sold any of your art, and you were still adamant about, I don't sell my art. And that here we are 2 years later, and you have sold some art.
I have. Unfortunately, for anybody that follows the art market, prices have continued to go up and up over the last couple of years. And then as I've been looking for some holes to kind of fill up my collection or some opportunities have come up, it was just not possible to just pay for things outright. So there had there were some pieces that just had to go, sadly. But I know one of them was one that you appreciated a lot because it was
Mm.
my Zach cover with Spidey that is right
Mm-hmm.
before the one that you have
Mm-hmm.
in there. And yeah, sadly it had to go.
And sadly, I could not pair 265 with 266. It just I didn't have that kind of budget. But yep, yep. These are things that we do. We talked about that in the last time too. Is that sometimes we want to upgrade,
Mhm.
right? And so we may something that we love. Some time may go by and just be like, well, I want to upgrade to that piece. So, sacrifices must be made sometimes.
Yeah, and while we're at it, the funny, well, not the funny thing, but the interesting part is that it was not necessarily a cap related piece that I had that I wanted to go for, but I would say it was cap adjacent because I'm not sure how much our fans will remember. And while we're at it, I can go ahead and show it because I have it here. It was the cover from 1981, I believe,
Yeah,
to
it's awesome.
the
Yeah.
Falcon limited series by Paul Smith, who doesn't sell a lot of his art. He's most famous for X-Men art and a
Mm-hmm.
great X-Men run, even though it wasn't super long. But he just had this cover for sale directly from him. He was moving to a new house and needed some money to kind of renovate the house and get it ready to go and prepare for his move. So somebody reached out to me to let me know that Paul was interested in selling it, and I reached out and made a deal for it. But yeah, sadly, that meant other pieces had to go to be able to accommodate that purchase.
So this is really, really cool for a lot of reasons. And first of all, I realize that not all of our listeners are into published original art. Because and there's prices for everything, right? You can get some pieces for a couple $100 to six figures, right? So but they're all one of a kind and they're all originals, and that's what makes them really, really cool and really, really unique and really, really sought after. And so if you can get something that has sentimental value to you as well, that's just a huge plus. And I remember when that Falcon miniseries came out. Was it 1983? Was it around that time?
I want to see the 81 or 83, but yes,
I
around
think
that.
it was 83 because I remember seeing it in a particular grocery store, like on the rack, and but I could be wrong. But that's it was around the same time of Zach doing around Captain America 286, and so, um, but yeah, that was a really cool. I think Cap actually makes an appearance in that story, and that was also really cool because he throws his shield and the ricochets a few times and knocks some people out. Um, but anyway, I digress. That is a really, really cool piece of art, and I don't blame you for wanting to upgrade it because another cool thing that is you could say is you're the first person to own it.
I'm the first person, obviously, outside of Paul Smith himself, because he'd held on to the cover for 42 years. So, yes, getting it directly from the artist 42 years later and being the first owner of it is special. And I won't say I'll be the last owner of it, but it's definitely going to stay up on the wall for a while.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a fantastic piece. And I'm only because we are friendly rivals. I now have to give something. So I'm wearing this shirt specifically because I own this is the only T-shirt I own where I actually own the artwork, and so this is the Captain America's motorcycle from the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, drawn by Elliot R. Brown, who was a guest on the show, and I got it from him. He had it for 40 years, and I'm the first person to own that piece of art. So, not quite on the same level as a Paul Smith #1 Falcon issue, but again, I'm always kind of just in your shadow.
Someone did tell me that there was a T-shirt made with that art by Paul Smith, but I haven't been able to
There is. I've
find
seen
it.
it. I've
Yeah,
seen
but
it.
I haven't been able to find it online. But so Bob or anybody, if
Uh-huh.
you find it and get a hold of it, let me know, please.
I will. I will let you know. I've got some ideas about where it could be, so I'll double check that.
I have another question for you because you mentioned the market. You said that prices continue to go up. Is that essentially what you feel like how it's been since 2 years ago when you were on the show? Do you feel like prices are continuing to rise? Do you feel prices are leveling off? Do you feel only some things are going up where others maybe not? Like, how do you see the market?
It feels like everything I'm interested in, at least, seems to be going up. I haven't seen anything I'm interested in go down, sadly. So I'll speak only from a cap perspective. I do think that play pieces for the most part have been holding steady or going up. Of course, you and I have talked about it's all about what do you take into consideration as a buyer or a seller if you count any seller's fees or by the time you pay taxes and shipping fees and all of that stuff, what the price ends up being, where even if you bid for a lower price, by the time you end up paying for it, it ends up being quite a chunk more anyway. But it definitely feels like as a buyer, it ends up being more that you pay for an art that you used to.
Yeah, I mean, Heritage Auction, right? They increased their buyer's premium,
Yeah.
right? It went from 20 to 25%. So, but depending on the size ticket item you have, that could be a significant chunk right there.
Yeah, even at $1,000 piece ends up being 250 already that you're paying extra instead of 200. So that's an extra $50 and from there on up. So absolutely.
That's crazy. Like
Yeah.
for folks who don't collect original art and certainly don't sort of bid for it, like how is that not a disincentive or an incentive for a competitor to come in? And because that seems very high.
Well, but I think most auction houses in general are going to follow that model. The percentage is going to change, but most auction houses make the money by charging the buyer for it. They want to encourage the seller, so they will charge the seller less money because they want to incentivize people to put their stuff up for sale, and they pass the price on to the buyer in the way of fees.
Wow. Makes me want to get into real estate. The fees are so much lower. Holy cow.
And also, before I forget, because this episode comes out on October 22nd, Alberto, aren't you celebrating a big birthday today?
I'll be 50 on that day. So that means Bob and Rick and anybody else listening, if you want to, feel free to send me something as a present to celebrate this episode going live. Feel free to reach out. I accept any sort of Captain America related presents.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I thought you were going to say Venmo, Zelle,
Happy birthday, Alberto. That's fantastic. Welcome to the 50 club.
Thanks.
But we're all young at heart. Right. So that's the best part. And now actually, what I think is pretty cool for you and me is as Captain America fans, right? October 22nd is the last day of the Libra, right? Because it's September 23rd to October 22nd. And according to J. Michael Straczynski, Captain America was not born on July 4th, right? That was just a propaganda PR type of thing that the United States did, for Captain America. So Steve Rogers wasn't really born on July 4th. He was born in September, and he's a Libra. So when you found that out, being a fellow Libra like me, how did you react?
I was excited. And I need to know, is there an official date in September where his birthday is? Because my son is birthday is on September 25th. So it would be cool if his birthday was the same as Captain America, maybe 100 years younger, from the time Steve Rogers was actually born. But yeah, exciting.
Was it the 28th, Rick?
Yeah, I believe so. I
Yeah,
believe so.
I think it was the
Yeah.
28th.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. Well, me, and your son are Libras. Yeah. I was pretty excited about it because, in the JMS story that he reveals this, he's being read a fortune, from this fortune teller, and talks about, because you're a Libra, and talks about the different qualities. And I'm like, yeah, that's me too. Now I understand and why Steve Rogers always appealed to me so much.
Yeah, and he's got the balance, right? And he's always got that justice ideal to him. So I think it definitely fits him as a Libra.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to get into some other art that you brought today, and I'm also going to just say, for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar, there is a wonderful website out there, put on, that was created by Bill Cox, called Comic Art Fans, and the URL is comicartfans.com, and on there is individual galleries. I have one, Alberto has one, and where you can go and you can see the art that we have, displayed, and you can do a search by title, by character, by artist, and so on. And I'll also put Alberto's gallery, a link in the show notes. So if you're really curious and you have a lot of time to kill, make sure you click on Alberto's gallery because it is amazing. It is by far the most impressive Captain America art that you are going to see anywhere, and that is high praise coming from me.
I try to be a good curator and caretaker of these pieces to make sure they stay around and saved for sure, because I've heard a lot of stories of art getting lost over the years, and my goal is to make sure that it stays safe.
Man, that's a bit, that right there, Albert. I mean, I think we got to put an exclamation point on that because you've said something that I think it's really special, right? Because you really, not only are you curating, but you're preserving for future generations, right? You're making sure that this art is protected and safeguarded, so that future generations will be able to enjoy it as well. And I think that's very laudable. So thank you, as a fan for doing that.
Yeah, and it's always good, for people who are interested in, there's always all sorts of cool projects. There's artist editions of a lot of comics that are many times scanned from the original art in huge size that lets you enjoy a lot of the stuff. And many times those publishers do reach out to art collectors to say, hey, I want to put some of your art. The Kirby Museum has gone through a lot of pain, and they're always asking for folks who own Kirby art to provide them a scan so they can also help preserve a lot of that comic. So I do think we do have a responsibility to keep this art safe, because back in the 40s and 60s, sadly, a lot of it was just thought of it as production art, and a lot of it was just
Right.
thrown out to dumpsters after drawing it, which is why a lot of the art got lost. So the art that has made it through, we have to make sure we save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you may have like a favorite comic or something like that, and you're like, oh, I'd love to get a page from that comic, but to Alberto's point, it may not exist, right? It may have been destroyed, and it also may be what we call the black hole.
Mhm.
So there are collectors out there that, they don't share their gallery, and it's private. they don't want anybody to know they have something, and so it's sitting in what we call the black hole, and so you never know if that even exists uh, at all. And that's the cool thing about collecting a published original art is because there's always that hunt.
This may be the time, Rick, that I finally have to disclose. No, I'm just kidding.
You're the one who has Captain
I'm the
America's
black
Zach.
hole.
Oh, all right. Bob, why don't we get some of these questions that have been sent in
All right.
for, I know some have been sent for Alberto, some for me, some for both of us.
All right. Yeah. So, we've got lots of great questions, and so many folks, they just want to pump your brain, Alberto. So I'm going to start off with Mark Domeyer. And he wants to know what's more exciting, finding and purchasing a desired piece of art outright, or winning an intense bidding war for a random piece that you like, preferably against Rick.
I'll say usually just buying a piece outright, like being reached out by a collector or an artist that has seen your gallery and they approach you and they're like, hey, I have this piece, I haven't shown it, do you want to have it? To me is always a lot more satisfying. I don't like the stress. I don't like having to be in a bidding war, just trying to press the button and seeing somebody else bidding and trying to figure out, do I just
Yeah.
win for the sake of winning at this point because it's become personal, even though it's probably more expensive than what you should be spending. I rather just get it over with, agree on a price, and know that I'm getting it.
Right. No, that makes sense. I remember I lived for many years in Asia, where bartering is the appropriate way to, buy things at the shops, or on the marketplace, out in the streets. And I always hated it because I just was like, just give me a price.
Yeah.
Right. I always felt like I was like, my armpits would get wet. I mean, I just did not like that. And I can't imagine, when you're going for something that is as precious and or high priced as some of the things you're going for, how intense that stress could be.
Yeah, especially a lot of those auctions, and Rick knows as well. On Heritage, for example, the Sunday auctions end up lasting like 10 hours, and you are not necessarily sure at what time your piece that you're interested in is going to be going live or not. If you want a Zec piece, because they go alphabetical by author, usually it's going to be at the end of the day after everything else has sold, and you don't know if people are going to be desperate because they missed on everything else that they wanted and
Oh
they want to
yeah.
pick something up and they're just waiting for the Zach and they're like, I didn't get anything else. I'm going to throw all my money at Zach art just to make sure
Yeah.
I got something.
I don't want to go home empty handed.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, Rick, we got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Tom McDonald, man, he really wants to get to the heart of this. So he says, I know Alberto to be a good-hearted and affable person, but when it comes to Captain America art, he is a modern day oligarch in that he seems to have little regard for the soul-crushing consequences of his art ambitions, and on the CAF community or humanity as a whole. At the point when good Alberto takes over entirely and decides to be more like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates rather than John D. Rockefeller, what pieces in his collection do you feel he should unburden himself with and make available to the rest of the CAF community?
Ooh, wow. I love that question, Tom. I've, as someone who's had his soul crushed by Alberto, more than I care to admit. Um, uh, but I also agree that he is a kind-hearted person too. So, nothing against him personally, but I have had my crush, my soul crushed. Um, uh, I, I guess the question is, what pieces, if Alberto ever, what's in his collection that I would want to see, I think is what the question is.
Sure.
Um, well, there are two pieces that I really wanted that Alberto got. I mean, there's more than two, but two that really stand out to me. That one is and we actually had him on the last time he talked about this is the Zek cover that he still has. So he had 4 covers, now he has 2. And that is Captain America 277, which is Mike Zeck cover of Captain America in a dungeon on chains with Zemo and Zola. And the fun story behind that is Alberto didn't know he won it, which
It
is just
happens, right?
it's just salt on the wound.
Yeah.
um, and so that one for sure. But I would have to say maybe even a slightly more is the it's John Byrne, and it's the cover to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe #2,
Mm,
where they're all running sideways,
yeah.
and it's the one with Captain America on the front cover, and I really really wanted that one, but it just I I couldn't compete price wise. And now considering I have a big, affectionate for the official handbook of the Marvel Universe stuff, right? And I have Mike Zeck's Captain America, Baron Zemo, Red Skull. I really wanted to get that cover to go along with it, but alas, Alberto beat me on that one.
Mm. Well, it happens. It builds character.
I will say though, if you had received the same question maybe 2 months ago, the answer might have been a little bit different because I know, Rick, in your want list, you had a Ron Garney cover for quite some time and was in your goals for the last couple of years at least. And I do know you picked one up recently. So at least you were able to check a Ron Garney cover of your checklist, which
I did.
you
I got
didn't
this one.
before.
Yes, I got this one right here. I haven't posted this. Well, by the time people listen to this, I probably have posted it. But yes, this is my very first Ron Garney cover. And it was from Captain America Central Livery #4. Very, very excited to get that. Now, to be fair, I want to read what Alberto put in the email uh, to us, Bob, when he was sending different covers to us.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And he said, I felt the need to add 2 Garney covers just because I want to make sure people understand why I let you pick yours up recently. Winky face, I have enough. Ha ha.
Okay. Okay.
This one that I took down off the wall, it's the cover to Captain America 3. As well, I have also the cover to Captain America 4 from Ron Garney's uh, run. So, yeah, I mean, Rick, I know you and I like to have our art on the walls and get it displayed, and we don't like it to be hidden. So, a lot of my collecting, I'm trying to get examples from the different artistic teams in Captain America, and you don't really want to have more than 1 or 2 because at that point you're just kind of bragging, or you cannot just put as much up on the wall. So luckily I was fortunate to have 2, and I was not going to keep bidding and be greedy when I know you wanted one so much, for sure. So I was happy that you picked up not only that but also a splash page by Ron Garney.
I got him on the same
Well,
auction, which is really
yeah,
odd for me. I don't to win 2 in the same auction is really really rare. But yeah, this is the big splash to
which is
Captain America,
spectacular.
Captain America Volume 3, #1, and
Mhm.
it's the return of Captain America after the Rob Liefeld, and this is the first time we see him. So it's a really important. Uh, so it's not only a cool gigantic splash and a pose with him holding a torch, but it's the first appearance of him after being back. And interestingly enough, Alberta, you own the page right before it.
Mhm.
Yeah, with the shield kind of
Yeah.
ricocheting. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, back to Tom McDonald. Hopefully that shows that I'm not as bad as of an oligarch as you were mentioning. I was perfectly happy to let Rick get his Garney fix, knowing that he really wanted to have that Garney piece in his collection, and he got 2 out of the same auction.
I did. I did.
Well, I think this next question you might have answered that, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just because it's from Tom Boyd, and I can't let Tom Boyd down. But he asks, "Pip pip doodly doo. Which, by the way, is a British expression that means goodbye, ironically. But interestingly enough, I looked this up because I was very curious about the origins of pip pip doodly doo, and apparently pip pip doodly doo has been morphed into another expression where you could say, "Did you do the pip pip doodly doo last night?" Which is another way to say, you know,
No, Bob, what do you mean?
did you do the smash bag? So so I gotta get the reason I wanted to say that is because I gotta get verification from our very own Londoner English dude Tom Boyd to verify if that is in fact a modern usage of that. But in any case, he was wondering what it's like when you have a suspicion you know who you're up against in an auction. Recently, he thinks Rick graciously backed away from chasing a Cap Diamondback Hembet card that he was after. And he says, "Thank you, Rick." And he was wondering if anything similar had ever come up between the two of you. Now, I know Rick has never backed off.
Hold on. Before Alberto answers that, what do you mean he thinks? No, he didn't say he thinks. I I backed off. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, Tom said he really wanted it, and I said, okay, you can have it. I wanted it too, but I knew he wanted it more.
Well, I didn't want to put that out there and make you seem
Nice.
susceptible, nice, yes, for others that you may go up against that could expect certain similar favorable treatment.
I think in general, at least between Rick and I, it's usually not a surprise about who are we bidding against when we're doing this bidding wars. Usually when there are pieces that we're interested in, we do talk to each other ahead of time, and we'll talk about, hey, I'm interested in this piece. Hey, I'm interested in that piece. How much are you thinking you would want to go for it? And if the other person's willing to go higher than the other one, or the other person's really interested in it, we are happy to just let the other person have it or not. It's happened with some handbag cards that Rick really wanted, or I really wanted. The same thing with the Garnies. I knew he was really interested in them, so I was not even going to consider bidding on them. But I think honestly, that's the beauty of the hobby. Not every collector is the same and is going to be as nice, but there is a lot of conversation and a lot of, hey, if you're really interested in this piece, I'm willing to just let you have it and not run the price up. So we do have a lot of those conversations at a time. And I know, for example, Rick is might be interested. There's a Cassidy Captain America cover coming up soon. I'm have a couple luckily already, so I'm not going to be bidding up on that one. But there's always going to be a good conversation between at least the two of us and other collectors that I know like stuff, to just not just be mean to each other and run the prices up when somebody else is interested in it.
Alberto's right. I mean, him and I have been friends for like 5 years, and we've been chatting back and forth, on things. And there are times where, we know each other wants something, and like Alberto said, if I already have some of these, so he's okay when he has something, but if he doesn't, then it gets a little interesting, right? Because then it's like, okay, I end up backing off, but mostly it's because I can't I can't compete with the price. Um, but sometimes we compete against each other, and it doesn't happen too often. That's because typically, as Alberto said, he already had some of those. And what I'm waiting for is if maybe a few years from now, when Alberto has something of everything, then I have a little bit better shot at actually getting something.
One of the things I think I've gained from Rick over the years that I didn't appreciate is that, I mean, you're not talking about like a huge amount of people, right? I mean, in terms of the Venn diagram of original art collectors, but the overlap with maybe folks who collect exclusively Cap related stuff. It's not as big as I expected. I don't think. Maybe that's inaccurate, but like it seems to be a pretty, if not collegial, most of you know each other to some extent. Is that correct? A read on the situation?
I think there's a few more hidden collectors because I do see a lot of these pieces going for auction that is not that somebody else is bidding me. Like I give up on it and there's still multiple people bidding on it and continuing to drive the price way higher than I expected it to be. And from talking
Mhm.
to Rick, it's usually not him either. So there's definitely more appreciation. They might just be more, as Rick was mentioning earlier, people that have black hole collections or people that are not on comic art fans, so we don't really know if what they collect. But there's definitely more collectors out there than we know about, or at least that I know about.
Okay. Okay.
Alberto, you have another piece of art that you want to share?
We'll go, as I mentioned, I like to try to get pieces from almost every artistic team or that does runs on Captain America. So I don't know if anybody remembers. This was the cover to Captain America #1 by
Very
Steve
nice.
McNiven, that I picked up just a month or two ago from a longtime collector that has been slowly getting rid of some of his art. And I think this was used also for promotional
It
material
was.
as well when the
Yeah.
new series came out. But the detail here with Cap's pose, not only Cap's pose, but the soldiers over here and the plane
Background is awesome. Yeah.
here and the
Mhm.
background. It has a lot of war type theme.
Yeah. And I love the detail on his uniform and the shading. It's
Yeah.
beautiful stuff. That's volume 6, #1, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is something that is lacking in my collection. I do not have any Steve McNiven. Would love to get something from Captain America from Civil War.
That's a beautiful piece. So speaking of all artistic teams, Carlo Olivar wanted to ask you, Alberto, did you buy the recent Captain America Woman cover by Terry Dodson? And secondly, who is the artist you would most want to see on an extended run of Cap? By the way, cheers, big fan of your collection.
I will say I did not get that Captain America Wonder Woman cover. I did speak to Terry before he actually put a few pages for sale this past weekend. Actually, he put them on for sale as part of the run. I love Terry's art. I had interest in it, and I understand that artists need to ask for whatever price they think their art is worth, but it was just not at a price that I can justify a brand new modern cover. So I had to step out because for that price, I would rather buy something that I remember more fondly growing up. I don't read every comic, and the cover to this comic was really for Batman and Deadpool, and they did variant covers for different combos of Marvel and DC characters. There was a small story of Captain America and Wonder Woman in there, but the comic itself says, I believe, Batman and Deadpool is what it's sold as. So it's not a Captain America cover as such. So I did bow out, but it's a really nice cover, and I would have at a better price for me. And when it comes to the artist, I hate negotiating. I know you were talking about bartering earlier,
Right. Yeah.
how you deal with price, but when I reach out to an artist and an artist tell me this is how much it is, I always feel bad,
Mhm.
like not insulting their art, but putting their art down and be like, your art is worth less than what you're offering. If it's a dealer, I don't mind making lowball offers or trying to negotiate. But with an artist, I always feel bad telling them, no, your art is not worth that much to me. So I usually just accept whatever price they say.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And I get that. I mean, it's their lifeblood, right? Yeah. So we got some questions that have been submitted for the both of you. So this is going to be an interesting. It's like a lightning round, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear detailed answers from you. So the first one right off the bat, and I think this is a really interesting one, and that is, do you guys really like Jack Kirby art, Or do you own it because you're supposed to like Jack Kirby art?
That's a great question. I'll let Alberto go first, and you probably have some Jack Kirby art that you want to share there with us.
I do have some Jack Kirby art. I will say for a long time, I didn't appreciate it. And over the years, I started appreciating it more. I don't know if it's because even if the art might seem crude at times, it seemed to be better at storytelling and action and movement than a lot of more recent pages. And maybe because today a lot of comics are built more as 6 or 12 issue story arcs. So there's a lot more pages that have not as much going on, and maybe the pace is a little bit slower. Where I do feel like Jack Kirby had more stuff jam packed into
Mm-hmm.
those pages, and I do appreciate his art a lot more than I used to, as I mentioned. So I don't know, Rick, if you have any opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. As far as Jack Kirby is concerned, and you say, by the way, you say you have some Jack Kirby. I think you have a lot of Jack Kirby. I'm looking at your gallery right now, and some amazing, amazing pieces. Um, I only have one Jack Kirby, and I think it really was because I felt like I got to have Jack Kirby in my collection. I don't think it's because I'm a huge fan. I appreciate him. I really do. I think he's a master, master storyteller, um, and uh, just a brilliant mind when it comes to creativity, and how dynamic his you know uh, characters are. Um, but for me, it's not nostalgic, and so I get a lot of my art because of the nostalgia that goes along with it. And so I have a piece, and it's because I think it was kind of I bought it because like I don't have Jack Kirby, and I need a Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I have this cover that I picked up not too long ago, but it's from Marvel Double Feature, which is actually reprints of some of the Tales of Suspense um, stories from early in the 60s. And I like this because it kind of has like a montage of the Red Skull over here, Cap. It has Sharon and Bucky and Cap kind of turning his back around on the costume, similar to the classic Romita issue of
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man kind of giving up the costume and the mantle of Captain America. It has AIM, it has some soldiers. So it has a lot of what you would expect from early Kirby art. And yeah, a great storytelling, as Rick was mentioning, that I'm really happy to have in the collection. I have a lot of early Tales of Suspense pages as well. I have one
Some
from
really
issue
cool ones, yeah.
75 with the first appearance of Batroc in there, and things like that. But I would encourage people who haven't read or looked at Kirby, some of the Kirby stories in a while, to give them another shot compared to some of the newer stories, and appreciate some of the action and the storytelling in those pages and the pace of a lot of the action in there.
That's a good point, Albert. I mean, if you can you can get past some of the text, right? Some of the language, which seems anachronistic. The art itself, however, is quite stunning sometimes. So I got another question for you, and this is for both of you as well. And this is from Dan Poddick. He wants to know which Cap issues or storylines are going to stand the test of time for future original art collectors. That is, what original art will they be chasing? Rick, why don't you go first on this one?
That's a great question, Dan. I, and Dan and I actually had a conversation about this not too long ago about original art, and if you're a lot of us buy it because it's something that means something to us. There's sentimental value, but there also is in the back of our mind, an investment quality too, right? Like you don't want to if you're spending this much money, you want to make sure that there's a some sort of rate of return on it, right? And so I kind of feel like the original art, a lot of people that I meet, are going to be in their 40s and 50s, maybe, maybe the 60s, some 30s, but 40s and 50s for the most part. And I think that's because they have maybe some disposable income, or they're further along in their careers so they can afford it. And so in my mind, I think of, all right, when I go to sell my art, like I'm not taking it with me, right? Right. My goal is to sell the art before I die, and maybe towards retirement time, right? So, what is 15, 20 years from now? Who's going to be in their 40s and 50s then, and what are
Mm-hmm.
they going to be interested in? And so that kind of, unfortunately, I think the ones that are into Kirby, or 60s, Silver Age, early Bronze Age, um, that may not be their sweet spot 15, 20 years from now.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're going to have less and less buyers from that, which is going to depress the market. Um, I think there's always going to be somebody for Kirby. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just talking about other artists from that time period. So then you start looking at, okay, well, maybe who was a teenager, you know 20 years ago, right? Who so it's that maybe that late mid to late 90s or the early 2000s or something like that that's going to be that sweet spot. Um, so I say all that to say, if I'm a somebody who really wants to invest and do the long game, I would invest in Steve Epting, those first years worth of stories or 2 years worth of stories from the Ed Brubaker run, right? Because first of all, I think those stories will stand the test of time. It is absolutely Steve Epting's best work. If you've ever, for Marvel anyway, I should say, his creator and is really good too. But,
Yeah.
um, so I think like there's Winter Soldier storylines. I think that's going to be the sweet spot 20 years from now.
Interesting. Alberta, what do you think?
I was actually queued up to give the exact same answer, and I feel like Rick set me up because he knew I had picked up an Epting cover very recently, but I do think it's
Oh
uh,
my gosh, that's
the exact
gorgeous.
same route. That's the cover from Captain America 9 by
Yeah.
Steve Epting. And I think not only because of what Rick was saying and the art that people um, that were reading it were teenagers at the time, and by the time we want to sell it, but I think it just had such a big impact on the MCU and bringing a lot of Captain America into the movies and a lot of the story with the Winter Soldier and a lot of that I think it is going to stand the test of time just because of that reason. A lot of those movies were based on Epting's run, and bringing Bucky back as a Winter Soldier after 60 years when nobody cared about him, and he was considered a little bit of a joke. If you looked at Bucky in the 60s, it was a funny sidekick instead of the character that he became with the Winter Soldier. I think that would definitely be a run that stands the test of time, as we're saying.
Let me ask you this, because there's another variable out there, right? And that is the shift of a lot of artists to digital creation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the move away from pen and ink and paper toward the digital medium. How's that going to impact the art that's available going into the future?
I think from my perspective, it's making it harder to buy art. I understand from a production standpoint for artists, it does become a lot easier and faster, and they can email it and retouch it after the fact. So it is an easier production process for a lot of the artists, but it does become frustrating from my standpoint because I have reached out to a few artists before and he's like, hey, I like the work that you did here. Do you have any pages? And it's like, nope, I'm sorry. It's all digital, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to sell you like a monoprint, which is one of a kind, and I will never print it again, and I will sign it. And it's something that I have not gotten myself to be okay with so far, just buying monoprint art, because to me it's still a printout ultimately, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that makes me feel like in 3 years, if the artist needs money, he's going to start making more prints of that, or what does it really mean? So it does become challenging. The interesting part is some artists have started doing some of the art that they can sell for a lot of money traditional, and the rest digital. So there's a few artists that will
Mm-hmm.
do a splash page or two from the issue and the cover in traditional ways because they can sell it, and the rest of the panel pages that have less stuff and are less desirable, they just do it all digital so you can get it over with quickly and get it done. So it's an interesting process, but a lot of the current artists are sadly digital, and it makes it hard to find the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's a good question, Bob. Yeah, I'm saying I agree 100% with Alberto, and there have been times where I've reached out to an artist I really like, and I've heard the same thing. The other thing too, and it's this makes it a little bit more challenging too, is that you have some artists who will do it digitally, print it out, and then hand ink it,
Mm.
and then sell that as original art. And there's some different opinions on that, right? Because it's basically inks over blue lines, as opposed to inks over original pencils. And at the end of the day, it's inked, so it's original art. But there's some people who won't be interested in that because it's not pencils; it was blue lines. So you get different opinions.
And the other way around too, there's some artists that will still do the pencil work the traditional way, but then all the inks and the coloring are done directly over the pencil. So you can buy the pencils, but it doesn't look like the finished piece because they finish the piece all digitally in
Mhm.
there as well. But you also get some cool artists. I don't know if you all are familiar with the work that Carlos Magno has done on not only Captain America but also on Cap Wolf. And um, I talk to him regularly, and he has sold me a lot of art. He does the art in a very interesting way, where he does do the pencils, then scans it, and then inks his own pencils over blue line. So when you buy art from him, he sends you a piece with the pencils and a piece with the inks, and they're all original art. So you do get to see the pencil art and the ink part separately and how they were combined. So at least you get to see both, which is cool. And they were both done by him. So there's no question in there, but not a lot of artists do that.
Hmm. It does seem that that shift will eventually, sort of box out a lot of entry level original art collectors, right? Because eventually all the new stuff's going to be moving toward digital, but all the older stuff, which will be more nostalgic, more sentimental, more expensive, might be out of the reach of entry level collectors.
Yep. And then who knows what that means? It might mean less collectors, but it also might mean, the stuff from the 80s, 90s, and the first 20 years of 2000s may go up because
Right.
now it's, harder to find original art.
Interesting. Well, we've got another question from a Nate Hanley. So, Alberto, we'll go with you first, but this is for the both of you. Is there a single issue that brings back such nostalgia that you would move heaven and earth to attain the original cover art for, not including something you already own?
Good question. If anything, I would probably say that the one piece for me, the one cover that I would love to have, and it's probably unattainable, would be the Captain America Annual 8 by Zach, the
Mm,
Cap versus Wolverine. That I do remember picking up as a kid, and it was like, oh, that's cool, Captain America versus Wolverine. And it's a cover that I think has been stood the test of time. A lot of people have created their own variations and homages to it over the years, and it's become a very well recognized cover. And to me, that would probably be the one from a nostalgic standpoint that I would, yeah, I would sell quite a few pieces to obtain that one if it was available.
What about you, Rick?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I will say, you're right about that cover, and a lot of different artists that did homages. Not least of which Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck did a lot of recreations of that as commissions, but instead of Wolverine, it would be Batman with his Batarang claws, or Iron Fist, or some other characters, or Wolverine in a different costume. I think those would be kind of cool to have too. They wouldn't be published, but man, they would be so cool to have. For me, and by the way, great question, Nate. And Nate is like the number one Jack Monroe fan out there. So he collects original art, but we thought we're niche by going after Captain America. He goes after Jack Monroe Nomad. So talk about niche. But for me, it would have to be my very first Captain America comic book that I ever purchased with my own money, and that is Captain America 286. And that is the famous Deathlock Lives, where Deathlock is pointing his laser pistol at Captain America. I will never get it. Probably will go for six figures. And the rumor is I know who has it, and he's had it for decades. If he still has it, and so I don't think he would ever part with it. But it's hard to say. But that would be the piece that I would move heaven and earth for, as Nate put it. But in the meantime, I will gladly have this recreation that was done by Mike Perkins.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Hey, Rick, I got to ask you. Nate Hanley, you said collects Jack Monroe stuff. Is there anybody out there that does Sergeant Duffy that you're aware of? No,
no, I can't think of
That's
any.
a guy I want to meet. So, or gal. So, okay, well, fair enough. So here's a question. Rick and I have had this discussion periodically along the way, but it seems apropos for this conversation tonight. On a scale of 1 to I told my spouse it cost half than that, how honest are you with your wife / family about what you paid for your most expensive piece? Rick?
All right. So the scale is 1.
Yeah.
And the other end of the scale is I told my spouse it costs half that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm honest to a fault. And so, that is one of the Steve Rogers, integrity, honesty. Like that's one of the things that's on the coin that we give out. And no, my wife knows when I buy something and how much I pay for it. But the thing is, she has trust in me in that I make good decisions. So I've had success with the art that I've sold, and so she's like, until you prove me wrong to doubt you, you do what you need to do. So I'm very fortunate in that regard.
All right. Well, you picked her, so that was a good decision. So you got a track record.
That's right.
All right. Fair enough. Alberto?
I think from my side, I'm gonna, and she's gonna watch this, so I have to be careful with what I say. I'm not currently married, but I am engaged, and at no point in time am I dishonest with her. I wouldn't tell her that I paid less than what I paid for a piece, but there have been a few times where she asked me, "Hey, how much have you paid for pieces, or what the most expensive piece that you've ever bought?" And usually my answer is, "You don't want to know, and let's leave it at that." And that's worked so far. I know once we're married and we're starting to kind of keep our finances more together and everything becomes more of a household, that story will change and she'll definitely need to be aware of it. But I would never be dishonest. I'll just stick to my you don't want to know.
And that's a good strategy. Yeah. Tonight, I got to tell you, tonight at the dinner table, we were having dinner and it was about 6:05. And I was like, hold that thought. because my wife was telling me about something that was happening at work. Her and my son were there, and I got up and I ran into the office, and it was about 3 minutes, and I came back, and I'm like, all right, keep going. And she's like, what was that all about? And I was like, I had to buy a comic. And she, like, of course, my son starts giving me a hard time because that's what he does, right? Trying to like egg me on and get me in trouble with my wife. And she's like, well, how much was it? And I was like, it was $25. And so,
Shipping.
and yeah, well, I didn't mention shipping. And then like my son's like, uh-huh. And so, and she's like, I could tell you're not telling me everything because you're smiling. And I'm like, each. And because I bought two of them, and because I wanted to send one to a friend. And so plus $10 shipping. So but I was getting interrogated at the dinner table, but she knows my tell. So yeah, I can't weasel out and try to use a strategy because I'm not very good at that sort of thing. So
When you're dealing with comics, can you get away with just mentioning the cover price of the comic? Like, hey, how much is that? It was a 12-cent issue.
that's
Nice.
exactly right. Yes. So all right, Tom Boyd wants to know,
Oi.
oi, oi, Rick, what issue were you most gutted missing out on?
To Alberto or just in general? So,
So
um,
in
in
general,
general, it was actually kind of, I don't know. There's been so many that I've missed on because I go into it with a here's my dollar amount. I'm going to stick to that. And if it goes beyond that, and I mean, if it goes more than 10% about, I might fudge a little bit, but if it goes beyond that, I'm just like, no. And then there's so many pieces that are like, a year or 2 or 3 years later, and I'm like, I should have bought it. I totally should have bought it because now, now the price is so much more.
sure.
So I have regrets, but no, I would say this year, the one that really bothered me the most was a Ron Garney splash page, or half splash page, and um, it was in April, and normally Heritage sends me a ping, a little text alert, like an item that you're following is about to go up on, at auction, and I didn't get it, and it was Captain America 445, page 8 by Ron Garney, and this is the page where it's the big revelation that Sharon Carter's alive.
Mm.
And so there she is in her black jumpsuit with her big 90s hair, and Cap's like, Sharon? And I had my eye on that for a month,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for it to go, to auction. And at some point I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, I should probably check on this. And I missed it by 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah. And
how are you here?
I know. And I would have, it went higher than I think most people were like a Ron Garney page, but I would have bid more just because of the sentimental value. Because, first of all, Garney is one of my top 3 favorite Captain America artists. And number two, it's the reappearance of Sharon Carter after like 20 years of being away.
Yeah.
So that's a big regret for me.
Rick, I got to tell you, one of the things I appreciate about you, and there's many, many things that I appreciate about you, is that when you share your original art acquisitions in the Facebook group or in the podcast, you always give a detailed explanation about why that particular page is important or special to you, right? And so it's an education process as well. And in having done the show with you over the years, I've learned a lot about original art and what you look for, and the sort of the variables that go into the calculation for you about how far you'll go in the bidding. But it's always illuminating to me because just as you did for that half splash, you've identified why it was so important. It's not just the art and the aesthetics of it. It has sentimental value, it has nostalgic value, it has important value in the mythos of Captain America, and those are all factors that, if somebody just looked at the art and didn't appreciate where it fit into the mythos, they wouldn't get that. They wouldn't appreciate it the way that you do, and the way that other collectors do. So I just want to give you props for that.
Well, thanks. I think a lot of art fans are in a similar boat, right? Like you buy what you love, and there's got to be a reason behind it. I think for most of us that there's you know we're not just buying it to. It's not like back when I was trying to fill my Captain America comic book collection,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a hole and I'm missing this issue, so I need to get that issue so I could fill it into the slot and be complete. I think when it comes to art, especially because it's more expensive and it's one of a kind, that there should be a good reason behind why you buy that art.
Yeah. So, Alberto, what have you missed out on that got you to this day?
The only things that I regret are the pieces that Rick ends up picking up. Because it was like I should have beat him to it. No, I honestly approach my collection without regrets. I've learned that even when you miss out on a piece, unless it ends up being something like the annual 8 cover that I was just mentioning, but there's very few pieces, and that one hasn't come up for sale where I could regret it, is because when I look at the pieces, even if you say it only went for $100 more than I was willing to pay for, you don't know how much the other person that outbid you for it was willing to go up on. So you might not have missed it by $100. The other person might have been willing to go $10,000 more for that piece than what it went for. So if you regret missing out on things, I think you're just gonna end up beating yourself up for it. And a lot of those pieces eventually do come back in the market if you really wanted a piece and you're willing to pay for it, or another page from that issue or another example from that run by that artist will eventually come up that you can still pick up. There's very few pages that I'm like, this is the page that I need to complete my collection. Ask me again if that annual 8 cover goes up for sale and I don't get it because it will probably be way too expensive for what I can afford. Then at that point I'll be like, I should have sold my son for it and
Right.
just get it. But yeah, there's no regrets otherwise.
Right, right.
Bob, can I change my answer? Just what Alberto said.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That was a good answer. It's funny tonight. Again at the dinner table after I told the story about the comic book, my wife and I relived. I've been after a Captain America Sentinel of Liberty membership card for years. I finally landed one recently, but prior to that, I was bidding on one online, and it kept going up and up and up. And it turned out my wife was laying in bed next to me, outbidding me every time. And eventually, we were both outbid by like $800 by some other bidder that came in and swooped in and took that card. But we got a good laugh over that we were outbidding each other on that one, and neither one of us had a shot at it in the end. So
that happened to Rick as well at some point in the last year, I think, with a Zemo card by Hembeck.
Oh, a Hembeck card, that's right. Yeah.
That he
Yeah.
wanted to really get it. And he's like, I missed out on it. And I was like, I didn't get it either. And then it showed up that it was his wife, I believe, that had bought it and gave it to him. So
Yeah, so that's a funny. It is a funny story. So it was this card right here. This Baron Zemo helmet Zemo card. And typically these Fred Hembeck cards, I mean, they go anywhere from 25 to 50, 60, $70 a piece. And you're like, for a trade little sketch card, and again, I think there's two reasons why, right? Number one, there's a collecting mentality to it. Like you need that character to finish something, but also the money goes directly to the artist, Fred Hembeck. So, that's a beautiful thing. But yes, when it comes to Fred Hembeck, this is, I think, where I get probably my most frustration with Alberto, because it's like, all right, if you're going to beat me at these 30, 40, $50,000 pieces, let me have the $30 card, like, come on, throw me a bone. And so sometimes that's where I get frustrated, because I might have my bid into a card, and they're up on eBay for like a week, right? And I might have a bid into it, and it's 2, 3, 4 days, and I'm the top bidder, and all of a sudden Alberta comes in, bam, because he has this number. I'm not going to say what it is, but he has this number that he automatically puts in this high number, and and if it goes over that high number, then he wonders whether or not he wants to bid more. And so it could take a card that I'm winning for $25, and all of a sudden over double the price, and then that always gets to me. So my wife knows this, and she knows when I get frustrated. And there's this card, and I told her, I said, Alberto, and I think, well, Alberto wants it, but and sometimes a lot of times I'm like, you just have it. But this one was like, no, I want this one, and I'm going to go for it. And I told Alberto, well, may the best man win, right? And it doesn't happen too often, but this case it did. And so I tell my wife, like, I'm going to get to this certain point, and I look, and halfway through the week, the number had gone past that, and I was like, well, I guess I'm out. So I guess Alberto's winning this. And just for the hell of it, I go back and I take a look at it, and I'm seeing, like, each day, like, the price goes up more, it goes up more, and goes up more, and I'm like, who the hell is bidding with Alberto?
Yeah.
And next thing I know, it goes for like over $100, and Alberto pings me. He's like, "Did you win that?" I was like, "Oh no, it wasn't me. I'm not going to bid that much for it." And Alberto already shared it was my wife, and it was for my birthday, because my birthday, this was a year ago. So for my birthday, he's like, "Well, happy birthday. Here's your Parancimo card."
That's life goals right there. That's life goals. Albert, what did you think was going on there, man, when you kept getting outbidded?
It the thing with Hembeck's sketch cards is he does do them regularly where he recycles through the same characters. So sometimes you do have to have patience, and some of them will come back every year. He will do, especially some of the main characters. Some of the more obscure characters might be 2 or 3 years before he does them again, but he does eventually kind of recycle through them. But you see some of them that he hasn't done in a long time will usually skyrocket. And to me, this was one of those, well, yeah, he hasn't done a Zemo in a while. I know I don't have it. I know Rick doesn't have it, and we follow him for a while. It's probably somebody who's trying to complete the set, and you have to get to a certain point where it's like he'll do it again. I'm just gonna bow out on it. But Rick knows how to figure me out. He knows that I'm not big on eBay outside of Hembeck cards, so he knows my rating. So he knows even if eBay tries to hide who the name of the bidder is based on the rating stars that I have on eBay, he knows when it's me bidding anyway. And he's like, I know you're bidding on this. And it's like,
yeah, it's exactly how I say it, Alberto, just like that.
It twirls his mustache. That's the whole thing, right? We've got a couple more questions, Alberto, and one of them is from James Siegel, and he wants to know if Cap had to pick between you two for his next sidekick, why would he pick you over the other guy?
I have to say he probably wouldn't pick me over Rick. I mean, with all the work that Rick has put in this community, creating the podcast, with the Facebook group, with the What Would Cap Do coins, and all of that stuff, he definitely puts a lot more thought and effort and dedication and love for everything that is Cap related. I do have a fair amount of comics. I obviously collect the art. I love the movies. I love everything Cap related, but I don't think my love for Cap can match Rick. So I don't think he would pick me over it. And I'm sure that's not what James is expecting. I'm sure he's hoping for a fight to the death.
Yeah, he wants to see
Cap would pick, but
yeah.
I think it would be Rick.
Yeah, Rick's over here like selection accepted.
I don't know. This is a great question, James. I don't know what to say to this. Why would he pick me over Alberto? How could I answer this and not say something negative about Alberto? like I don't.
Go ahead.
Hasn't stopped you before, Rick. Come on.
No, I mean, I don't know. I would say Cap would pick me um, because I live on the East Coast and I'm closest to New York and would be easier to bring along on some sort of mission.
Well, there you go. And you're handy with technology, so you could help run that hotline. You and Ram.
Exactly.
You and Ram.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. That's fair. Well, you're both really great guys, and I think he'd be lucky to have either one of you. So, all right. Last question, and this is from Sean Rutan, who is, of course, an original art collector. He wants to know, and we'll start with you, Alberto, first. Do you think either of you will ever reach the end where you've collected all that you wish to collect?
I don't think so, just because there's some art that I would love to have in my collection, and I know they're always going to be unattainable just because of the price of it.
Mhm.
I mentioned that Zek cover, but there's that Jim Lee cover that has Cap in there as well. If that ever
Yeah.
became for sale, it would be an insane price. If
Oh yeah.
something like the cover to Tales of Suspense 59 with the first Cap in there, if that became for sale, or the cover to Cap 100, they would be way above my reach. And those are covers that are so memorable and important to me that I would love to have them. So from that perspective, it will never be complete. When it comes to just having an example of most of the artists that I want, yes, I can say I'm very close to that goal, but there's always going to be a cooler piece or cooler
Mm-hmm.
cover that would become a better example. But I don't know what I would do with myself if I ran out of stuff to collect. I would have to find something else to collect, and I'm
Beanie
ready
Babies.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Beanie Babies. What are those La Boo Boo dolls now? Is that the big thing now? La Boo Boos? So,
Yeah, I need to start the Labubu craze for sure. Forget cap art. I can give it all to Rick, who I'm sure would be excited to get some of my art and move to Labubus.
I think it's a fantastic idea. You should go Labubu all the way.
Rick, what about you? Do you think you'll reach the end?
I do. When it comes to collecting art, I do. Because at some point I'm going to have to retire and I'll be priced out. You know, I
Yeah.
won't have a steady income coming in. So that that in itself, I think, will be a big reason. But I also think, um, I always collect something. I'm a collector's mentality, right?
Yeah.
So, whether it was comics my entire life or action figures when I was a kid. Um, but you go through phases too. Like I have all these Captain America Funko Pops, and that kind of slowed down with me as far as my interest in that. Um, but there's something nostalgic about the art,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the walls here in front of me with all the framed art, and there's just a great feeling that comes around when you see this. So um, at some point, I'll have to stop. Um, and but I know as having a collector's nature, there'll be something else that fills that void.
Yeah. That's awesome. I gotta say, there's three of us here, right? And none of us are Taylor Swift. Um, I collect a lot of original art. I have a few pieces, but very low dollar amounts. But it is something that everybody can get into, and there's always going to be somebody that can get something higher price than you can get into. But it is something that everybody can enjoy. And as you said, there's a nostalgia in it, and these are one of a kind pieces, published pieces that nobody else has, and that are tied directly to our memories of childhood and the things that we enjoy. So I've enjoyed spending tonight talking to both of you and learning more about why you collect and what you collect, how you collect, uh, but also why it's so important for you to collect. So this has been great. I really appreciate the time with both of you.
Oh, thanks, Bob, and thank you to Alberto being a guest on the show. Alberto, what is on the horizon for you? Like you mentioned, there's different Captain America creative teams that you want to get something from each one of them. What's eluding you right now? What's that hole in your collection?
The hole in my collection that I have from growing up in my childhood, I think, is a Sal Buscema cover, which you would think I would have one. I have a couple splashes or plenty of pages by him, but not a cover necessarily by him. So that's a piece that I'm missing for sure. Right now, I'm enjoying learning about some of the new creative teams in Cap that are coming up. I have a piece coming up from Valerio Schiti.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, I don't know if I'm butchering his name because it sounds like something else when you just call him like that,
I think it's Skeety, right?
Kitty. But I have a cover by him coming up that I was able to pick up with the caps from the different countries that he
Oh my gosh,
created.
beautiful.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I have that coming up and I'm exploring it. I mean, I picked up some recent covers that you might recognize or have seen recently. I picked up the Mark Buckingham Captain
Mm.
America variant cover that came up. So it's some artists that are doing Captain America covers that it's always fun to see their take on it. And as long as there's new artists doing Cap covers that are not digital, I'm gonna be looking at them and considering picking them up. But from everything from the 2000s and earlier, I feel like I have examples of almost everything except, like I mentioned, for a Sal Buscema cover, but I'm starting to get priced out of those myself. So we'll see.
Do you have a couple more pieces there you want to show?
I have some, mostly some newer stuff as well. I have the Nick Bradshaw variant as well from Captain
Beautiful.
America that came out pretty recently as well. That it was kind of like the newer
I think Nick
style.
Bradshaw is so underrated and under.
Stunning.
He does such great work. He is up there with detail, on the Art Adams level, and he's very dynamic. I don't understand why he doesn't get more buzz.
Mhm. Yeah. And the other fun piece that I have here, and this one's kind of silly, but it's the Humberto Ramos cover to Captain America recently, where he's just sitting at the attic, like eating milk and cookies,
I
reading
love it.
comic books, right? So it's kind of blank in the art. I believe when
Yeah, they
this
digitally
art
put
was
it on
finally
the
published,
cover.
yeah, they
Yeah,
put like I believe it was a Tales of Suspense or a Captain America cover in there. So he was reading his own comic book. But I thought that cover by Ramos was
Wow.
just really cool with him just eating milk and cookies and reading his own comic book. So I picked that one up.
yeah, those are great examples. And again, I'm going to put the link to Alberto's gallery in the show notes, so you can go on there and uh, spend some time, right? Because he has lots of categories there, and we're talking hundreds of pieces, anywhere from unpublished sketches to published covers and everything in between. So make sure you check that out. Alberto, I have to say, even though I joke all the time that you are my art nemesis, I really do enjoy, our friendship as far as, and our love, our mutual love for the Captain America art. And I'm glad that you were able to come on the show so we could talk about it and share it with our listeners.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I know I've met you in person before at OAX, which is a show in Orlando usually for related to comic art. So it was great to meet you there in person. And thanks for having me here. And Bob, hopefully we'll get that chance to meet you in person sometime in there.
I would like that as well. Would like that as well. It's been a great conversation, Alberto. And as one of the questioners stated, you are an affable guy. So it's been a great time spending with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry if this went a little bit longer than some of your other shows, but it was great finally meeting you and catching up again. And hopefully, it won't be 2 years before we catch up again.
Yeah. Well,
Amen.
and happy birthday, Alberto.
Thanks.
All
Yes,
right.
indeed.
So next episode, for episode 263, come back for our Halloween issue. It comes out, our episode, it comes out October 29th. And, Bob, I think it'd be fun if we tied it into Halloween. We do a story. What do you think?
I'm all for that, Rick. But I thought you were going to say it would be great fun to get dressed up for this.
Well, I'm going to dress up as a Captain America fan.
Oh, all right. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you yet who I'm going to dress up as.
Will it have skin tight uniform?
It will. It will. There'll be some cleavage. So.
Woohoo! I don't know about cleavage, but I do want to see a plunging neckline.
Yes, indeed.
But anyway, I was thinking for the Halloween tie-in. And for this is for our longtime listeners. So, not last year, not the year before that, but 3 years ago, Bob, we were talking about doing Halloween tie-in, and
Yes.
it was, this was way back in episode 107. 107, Bob. And I said, hey, let's do Captain America 326, which is Cap at Skull House. And do you remember you confused it with Captain America 370, which had the Skull House?
Yes.
And then you showed up, and I was like, let's start with 326. And you're like, Rick, I read another issue. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. But I'm fully prepared this time around.
Yeah, so I think we should do that. I think we should go back and do 370. What do you think?
I think this time I'll be prepared.
That's right.
Yeah.
The longest time you've ever taken to prepare for an episode.
Right.
So to come back next episode, we'll return to the Skull House with Captain America 370, which was a 1990 issue. So we'll do that. So for Alberto Gonzalez, Bob Lucius, I'm Rick Verbanis. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.